Welcome to a show about a show podcast.
where we take an in-depth look at some of our favorite TV shows.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Joe.
Let's get started.
Spin that shit.
Show about a show.
This is the intro. A new intro. We got an
So what have you been doing?
As of late, nothing. I've been trying to teach myself how to do an ollie on a skateboard. I've been trying for 15 years now, and haven't gotten it down. But I'm
it's
getting
actually
there.
pretty hard.
It's pretty fucking hard.
Yeah. I haven't really been doing anything either. Yesterday I restrung both of my guitars and I felt really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's really it. Nothing interesting going on over here.
Yeah, I think definitely having something to do like this podcast was really cool because it was homework, but the best kind of homework.
Definitely homework you want to do because it's hard to have motivation to do things during coronavirus when there's not much to do at all.
Word.
All right, so today we're going to be doing the How I Met Your Mother podcast, which will start with the pilot, Season 1, Episode 1. It runs 22 minutes long. It was written by Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, and it was directed by Pamela Fryman, and it aired September 15th, 2005, a good 15 years ago.
And a fun fact about Pamela Fryman is that she actually directed all but 12 episodes of the entire series, and there's 9 seasons of the show, guys, so that's a lot of episodes. One of these 12 episodes was also directed by Neil Patrick Harris, who plays Barney Stinson, greatest character
I did not know
in
that.
my opinion. So another interesting thing is that the principal characters of the show, Ted, Marshall, and Lily, are all based on real-life people. Ted is actually based on Carter Bays, and Marshall is based on Craig Thomas. Both of them are the creators of the show. And Lily is actually based on Craig Thomas's wife, who was really on the fence about having a character based on her on what could possibly be and would be a really big TV show.
Definitely.
So she said she would only agree to it if they could get Allison Hannigan to play the character of Lily, and they did. So now we have a really great character.
Yeah, little tidbit, the pilot was viewed by 10.94 million people.
That is a lot of people.
That's when everyone was watching TV. No streaming services, just good old American families loving TV.
And people had flip phones. They were wearing, corduroy jackets Ted.
What else was happening in 2005?
Oh, man. I mean, I was 5 years old.
Hey, me too. Really ugly clothes. That's what comes to mind for me. Terrible clothes.
Those plaid, shorts, you know what I'm saying? Those were just not a good look on anyone.
I think Eminem was really fat.
Oh,
and
for sure.
super addicted to drugs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So.
Oh, isn't 2005 when The Office came out?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I guess they both started at the same time. So I guess. When did you first watch How I Met Your Mother?
I actually first watched the show this year. You actually introduced me to it.
Yeah,
and
I knew
just
that.
kind of begged me to.
Yeah, I kind of forced you into it because I knew you would like it.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't wrong. I definitely enjoyed the show. I'm kind of a slow TV watcher, if I'm being completely honest. I can. I don't mind binge watching, but it's not my preferred way. I like to space it out, because then once I'm done with the show, if I really liked it, I'll be sad, and I'm fuck, there's no more episodes to watch, and then I just have to go back and rewatch stuff. So
yeah. So I think I first saw it.
Yeah, when did you find the show?
I think it was around 2012 actually.
Wow.
I was just a small boy. I had my first smartphone, Samsung Galaxy S2, and I had recently gotten Netflix on my Android.
Yeah, you didn't have an iPhone.
I did not.
Green boy.
Yeah, how dare you? But I got it on my Android, and I started watching How I Met Your Mother. I honestly don't know why. I think actually our friend Eddie introduced me to the show.
Oh god.
I'm almost certain that is what happened. So I started binge watching it on my phone, just in my bed, little 12-year-old on my phone. I would stay up so late just watching the show, like as many episodes as I could until I fell asleep. And it's funny, I remember I was like halfway through the show when back when I was a kid, I used to go to summer camps a lot, and my mom forced me into the summer camp that was 2 weeks long.
Holy shit.
It was advertised as a fitness camp, when in reality, my mom sent my little chubby ass to a fat camp. And look, I know some of you might be thinking, okay, that's a good thing.
God.
What a nice thing of your mother to do.
That's
I was not that
hilarious.
fat. I was a little overweight, dude. Like I was not I wasn't obese. Like I didn't have any issues. I was just kind of chubby. And my mom thought, all right, let's get this fat fuck into a camp.
I definitely knew you at 12, and I can confirm that, like, if one of us needed to go to a fat camp at that time, it would definitely be me.
Joe literally
Like,
only
not
eats
you.
French fries and pizza. Okay?
That's not true.
It's close to the truth. But anyways, I remember being at that camp. I didn't have my phone, and I was just like, I want to just watch How I Met Your Mother. But I'm at this stupid camp, and while I was at that camp, since we're on the topic, they quarantined me.
Oh my god.
They quarantined me because I got strep throat, and so I'm this little 12-year-old, slightly overweight kid
At fat camp.
at fat camp, quarantined in a room for multiple days, where all I could do was watch these old shitty VHS movies on this tiny TV, and they'd slide food under the door. And I remember I was so sad. I was in the shower in my little quarantined room, a 12-year-old little fat boy, just crying, like, why am I here? Why was I forced to come to this stupid fucking camp? And I remember I came back, my parents picked me up, and the first thing I did was watch How I Met Your Mother, because that made me feel better.
Holy shit, I've never heard this story. I don't think we really clarified in the last podcast our, like, knowings of each other. Like, we're like best friends.
Yeah, that's just a small little thing we left out.
Yeah.
But in case you couldn't tell, we've known each other since what, 9 years old?
Yeah, like
How did we
fourth
meet?
grade. In fourth grade, I don't know. It was just probably like at like recess or something. But I do remember in the 5th grade we played in a lacrosse tournament together. In
I do
PE,
remember this.
and
I
we,
dropped
like-
out immediately after. The coach called me someone else's name, and I was like, this is not for me.
No. I was talking about in PE. That we
Oh,
did
yeah,
play on the
yeah.
same lacrosse team, but we also played in PE.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like I think we made it all the way to the finals, and then we got beat, and that was like
By none other than Max Wright, A&M star defensive end.
Max Wright. If you're listening to this, tell us your favorite TV show. Let us know.
Yeah,
what
send
you
me a
watch. I
DM.
want to know.
Mr. Verified on Twitter.
Damn. Give
But,
us some clout. Like, if he gave us
yeah.
a shout out, like, I don't know, like, I'd give him free access to our OnlyFans that's coming soon.
Yeah, OnlyFans on the way, guys. It's just gonna be Joe. Okay, actually, I'm not gonna get into.
You
it.
have
That's
you have to pay money to find out what
Yeah,
what the rest of that sentence was. You want to know?
Exactly, and I'm gonna have
give
a
us money.
premium Snapchat soon too. So keep a lookout for that, guys. Okay, so let's start with the episode. So the episode opens with Ted is talking about his life in New York as a 27-year-old architect. He's talking to his kids. It opens with a collection of photos, and Bob's. It starts off. It doesn't even start with Ted. It starts off with Bob Saget.
Yeah, I was gonna say
voicing
that. I was
Ted.
like, it's not even Ted. And you know what's really like just proves like I'm not the most like intelligent person
What?
is the fact that like I honestly didn't really think like I was like, damn, is that like what's his name, Josh Radnor
Yeah.
doing like a different like voice?
I mean, they do sound similar.
they sound similar,
but
but
I
like, when
knew.
you-
I was
yeah,
like,
when you
who the
listen-
fuck? Why? I genuinely don't understand why they had someone else do it. I guess just to cut down on the workload for Josh Radnor.
I mean, I think it's that and like Bob Saget's a fucking great narrator.
I mean, yeah, he
like,
is.
I think he's a really cool addition to the show.
I mean, he was on Full House.
he was on Full House,
He hosted America's Funniest Home Videos.
and he never showed up to table reads.
Apparently, he showed up to the
Yeah,
very
the last
table
one.
read.
That's what I heard.
Okay, so
So this is just the first of like, man, countless flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like this is the setup
Yeah.
of the show. It's a framed
Definitely.
story, so that's really interesting. I don't. Are there other TV shows that do that? I'm sure there are. I can't think of any.
that are like constantly used like flashbacks and stuff.
Well, not just flashbacks. Like, well, I guess yeah, but this is more like a frame story. So like, it's like telling a story within a story.
Yeah, it's pretty innovative for a 2005 sitcom.
For sure.
That it masquerades as just like your regular old sitcom. Like, how is it any different than Friends? But I mean, it was a new kind of idea. The thought that Ted would be telling the story to his kids from 2030.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Who in 2030 are dressed
Where?
as if it's 2005, which
Just
I fucking
brilliant attire on I can't think of their names.
love. Yeah,
David something.
yeah,
and,
the kid from Wizards of Waverly Place, right?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was before that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Wizards of Waverly Place was probably what, like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. I watched that show too.
For sure.
Big fan, Selena Gomez. So Joe, do you want to start with the synopsis?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this episode, it starts off in the year 2030, as we said. Ted Mosby is telling his kids the story of how he met their mother. He begins in 2005 when his best friend Marshall, played by Jason Segel, is about to propose to his longtime girlfriend / good friend of Ted's, Lily Aldrin, which is played by Alison Hannigan. Marshall's big step in life really causes Ted to reflect and think about like his own life, and he kind of decides that like he's done with dating, at least by the end of the episode.
Yeah,
and he wants to find someone to spend a life with. That's what he wants. He wants to find her. So with the help of his good friend, not best friend, Barney Stinson, who is played by Neil Patrick Harris, Ted meets Robin at the local bar, McLaren's, which they live on top of, which is awesome. The two go out, but Ted eventually puns out of kissing Robin. This causes him to do an array of things, including to steal a blue French horn to show Robin, he's serious
from
about
the
her.
bistro that they ate at on our first date.
Yeah. And so this goes well, and unfortunately, before Ted is able to kiss her, he says that he loves her, like on the first date, which is...
Honestly, I can't blame him because Robin is so beautiful.
Cobie Smulders is a really beautiful
can
lady.
you blame him? Not really.
So, rightfully, she's a little confused and probably a little terrified at the same time. And she tells Ted goodnight. So this is it. Like, that's the end of their night, and she's going to be away for some time.
Yeah.
So, that's Ted's opportunity.
Ted definitely, he shoots his shot and he misses by a mile.
Yeah, so all of this, Ted tells this fairly long story, all to find out that this is not how he met their mother. This is how he met their Aunt Robin. So, Aunt Robin is a very
So
very
I actually
important
read
character.
that the writers Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, they didn't want their show to be compared to Friends with the kind of will they won't they. So that's why they wanted to start off with Ted and Robin as platonic friends instead of potential partners. Even though they really are, they didn't really. That's how they wanted to avoid the comparison.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a good
Which
move.
definitely is a good choice because it kind of throws you off a bit. You're like, oh, he found her. Like, that's it.
For sure. The first time I watched it, I was like, what? Like, this is it? Like,
Yeah.
he found her? Like, what? It was just not cool.
Yeah.
So we're actually flashing back to 2005, in which Ted is 27 years old. He lives in New York. He is a starting architect.
They have a large apartment for
Very
struggling
large
adults.
apartment. That must be so
They have a
pricey,
great
right?
apartment in Manhattan.
Isn't it so nice to be like a TV character and just like pay like imaginary rent
Yeah,
prices?
their excuse for like how nice their apartment is it's rent locked. or
Oh,
whatever.
Those do exist.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible, highly unlikely that you're gonna
Highly
find
unlikely.
an apartment like that in Manhattan for low rent.
Definitely. So we're in the apartment, and Ted is attempting to help Marshall with his proposal to Lily. He says a bunch of stuff, and one of my favorite things that he says, well, actually, he says, "I've been there for all the big moments with you and Lily, the night you met, first date, and other first things," and he's implying to the first time they had sex.
Yeah.
Later on, he says, like, Marshall is saying that, "Oh, we thought you were asleep." And he's like, "It's physics, Marshall. If the top of the bunk bed moves, if the bottom moves, the top moves too."
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. Another thing Ted says is, "Please don't have sex on the kitchen floor."
And one thing I noted about this is, like, that's all of that happens in the first 60 seconds of the show. And, like, that's pretty raunchy for a network sitcom, like, to just jump off the bat, like, this is for adults. Like, we're going to make some promiscuous kind of jokes, you know?
It's also, like, a really big, like, part of the show, like, Lily and Marshall's relationship. And I think, like, just getting so, like, up close and personal with them that quickly is just, like, we are gonna know these people. And I think that's something that I found really interesting about this episode was, like, you kind of just jump into the story, obviously, because you're being told from Ted.
They just, like,
but you jump into the story like you're part of the gang,
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, like, they don't make Robin seem like that. Compared to the rest of the show, you do not know Robin from this episode.
No way.
Like you find out she has 5 dogs.
You don't even know if she's a main character.
Yeah,
honestly.
find the dogs is, like, the most significant thing about her.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't play the fucking bass, which is later on Ted's list.
Apparently, yeah. Ted has always been looking for someone with a bass, but that's not listed in his list of the perfect girl. And so after he talks to Marshall, Ted calls Barney, and Barney's first line is,
brilliant.
"Hey, so you know how I've always had a thing for half Asian girls?" Which is just a hilarious introduction to Barney and kind of lets you know him right away.
And his second line is, "Well, now I've got a new favorite, Lebanese girls. Yeah. Lebanese girls are the new half Asians."
A little setup for a joke down the line in the episode.
It's great. And I said this is really just a great introduction to Barney and the character, like who he is.
Definitely.
Like I said, there's no holding back. Like, you just know these people.
We also get our first suit up.
I wrote that down.
First of many's.
And in order to really, emphasize that we're in 2005 here, they both have, Barney's on a flip phone while he's getting a shave, which is another great little detail. And Ted is on his house phone. Like, when's the last time he used a house phone?
His landline.
That's crazy. Well, there's not a line, but, like...
Yeah, that's what they call them, I think. I don't know. I'm a kid.
I think so.
But, so the second scene cuts to Ted meeting Barney at McLaren's. Ted is not wearing a suit, but he's wearing an ugly brown jacket with this dirty kind of green shirt. And Ted and Barney are kind of just talking.
Barney says, like, "You didn't suit up," and he says, like, "I did that one time," and he says, "It was a blazer, Ted." Like, you didn't even really do it.
Yeah. But something I noticed is while Ted and Barney are talking, you can see Carl, the bartender, kind of, like, laughing at them in the back. He, like, glances at them, which was just a little interesting thing. Like, it just shows how often, like, they're there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And McLaren's is literally their second home.
Speaking of McLaren's, let's talk about McLaren's, like, origin. So McLaren's is actually based off of a few bars that the creators used to go to after getting off from working at the Letterman show, because that's what they did. So it's based on a few bars in New York City, and the bartender, who is Carl, is actually named after what's his name? Carter Bay's assistant. His name is Carl McLaren, so they named the bartender Carl and the bar McLaren's. Yeah.
Another little thing I noticed is, well, the name of the bar is McLaren's Pub, but they never ever refer to it as a pub.
No.
It's always a bar, which I don't know why I noticed that. I feel
like someone might, like, say something about, like, it being
when do they say, "Let's go to the pub"?
No, I don't think they say it. I feel like maybe, like, a secondary character might refer to it as a pub.
Yeah.
Not sure. Okay, so then after this, we actually get another flashback, so a flashback within a flashback. of how Barney met Ted, and he kind of just goes up to Ted in. He kind of just goes up to Ted. He's sitting in a booth, and Ted is sitting with like two random people at the 2-minute
that we
mark.
never see again.
Never see again. And he's basically telling Ted he's gonna teach him how to live, and he's gonna, tell him all these really enlightening lessons. So his first lesson is lose the goatee, which is
Ted has a glorious but also somewhat despicable goatee.
Yeah, he really looks like a super villain. It's kind of gross, but also like he rocks it.
Yeah, and
I don't know where the water is that you're looking for.
Yeah, I've been just looking for water. I'm so thirsty, but that's okay. I'll dehydrate and die. But I thought it was interesting. Why the hell is Ted sitting with these two random people? Like, we see in the show, he literally only goes to the bar with Ted, Marshall, Barney, and Robin. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So after that throwback, we cut back to the bar, and we get our first Have You Met Ted?
It's great.
Which is kind of a way for Barney wingman's Ted, helps him break the ice, which me and Joe have yet to try with an actual girl in person, but we do plan on it.
Yeah, after this Corona stuff is over, we're gonna hit the town and ask people if you've met the other.
I think it would work, honestly.
I don't know.
I feel like the hardest part about going up to someone is like just saying something. So if your friend just like forces you into it, and kind of that other person, then like I guess it kind of breaks the ice right off the start.
Or it could fucking suck.
But a funny little thing. Ted is talking to a girl at the bar, the one that he's introduced to, and she says her name's Yasmin, and he says, "Oh, that's a pretty name," and she says, "Oh yeah, it's Lebanese," and Ted makes this goofy face that just made me die. It was hilarious.
That's awesome. So then we leave McLaren's and we go back to the apartment where oh wait, do we? No, they're still talking to. He's talking to the Lebanese girl, right?
No, right after that, it cuts back to the apartment.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Lily comes home.
Yeah.
Marshall is getting geared up to propose, and Lily tells Marshall about how it was finger painting day at school, and a 5-year-old.
Oh wait! Before you keep going, I have to interrupt you because
go for it.
What the fuck is that transition music?
Oh
that plays?
My
it's
God!
It's like some like crazy like sax line, and like it's so 90s, and it's crazy.
Which really, I mean,
that
they
music
have,
never plays
there's
again.
Some transition music in the show, but it becomes much more contemporary, I guess.
Yeah.
But like that, it's like they got it straight out of Seinfeld or something.
For sure.
You know?
That's what I wrote down. I was like, wow, it's super Seinfeld. I also wanted to talk about the apartment itself. So there's like this weird like coffee table. Like it's like 3 different circles. That doesn't stay. Eventually they get like a normal coffee table. And also just like the way the furniture is set up, it doesn't look like how it's normally set up, like later in the show at least.
Yeah. That's a classic pilot. They're just after that, I'm sure they just rearranged everything and redid it. But,
yeah. But the line you mentioned about it being finger painting and a 5-year-old boy got to second base with her, I think that's a awesome first line. Like very like, this is Lily Aldrin.
Yeah, for sure. And so after that, so Marshall's acting weird, and Lily can tell, and he says, "Oh, I'm full of surprises." And Bob Saget, the voiceover of Ted, cuts in. He says, "Marshall was in his 2nd year of law school, so he was pretty good at thinking on his feet." And Marshall's response is, "Boogity boo!"
And that's all the surprises. I'm gonna go back to cooking.
And that is definitely very, very Marshall.
Very.
So after that, we cut back to
Ted and Lebanese girl.
Yeah.
Where he's telling her the situation. He's telling her that his best friend Marshall is about to propose, and it's gonna change things. It's different when 2 friends are just like dating, even how long they've been dating. But like they're gonna be married.
Yeah, marriage means kids, more commitment.
It's like he's thinking they're like, I'm gonna lose my best
Yeah.
friends, you know, and
that kind of stuff does happen though.
it,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
it
like
definitely happens.
even with just like at 20, your friend gets a girlfriend, you could lose him.
you very well
Like, I mean, speaking from personal experience, I've had multiple friends, including you, Joe,
that's
who
true.
like they get a girlfriend, and obviously when you get a girlfriend, you're gonna spend a lot of time with them. But I guess it's just kind of a natural thing where who cares about your friends when you have someone that wants to kiss you, which is fair.
Very true.
But I don't blame you for that, Joe. I forgive you.
Thank you.
And yeah.
So eventually the Lebanese girl, I feel so wrong just calling her that. Her name's Yasmin.
Yeah, her name's Yasmin. Joe.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know what? That was a mistake on my part, everybody.
Yeah,
I want
guys,
to put
please
that
don't
out
cancel
there.
us.
Like, look, we're 2 episodes in. We're trying here, man.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So
It's okay.
Yasmin asked Ted, "Well, do you think you'll ever get married?" And Ted kind of sits there and he gives this face of like, like, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. When in actuality he says, "Well, maybe eventually, some fall day, possibly in Central Park. Simple ceremony. We'll write down our vow. We'll write our own vows. Band, no DJ.
No DJ.
Because people will dance. People will
Yes.
dance. He's not going to worry about it. So
No.
this dude wants to get married. I wrote that this reminded me of you, Jake, because you've asked me before, like, have you ever thought about your wedding? And I was like, no, not really. And then you'd be like, me neither. But then you'd have like some detail about it, and I'd be
well,
like,
I mean, like,
oh.
I don't think about it all the time, but like, I mean, what boy doesn't fantasize about their wedding? You know?
You know what this made me think of as well? Like, at the very end of the show, there's some moment. Oh, it's when Robin like buried that thing.
The locket.
The locket in Central Park, right? When she's like digging it up with Ted, he says like, "Robin, you're a woman," and then she says, "Ted, you're a woman," and then he's like, "We knew that, like from the get go," and like this is it, like in 2005 terms, because not 2020 terms.
Yeah,
we're in 2005 again. So Ted is a woman.
Yeah.
Ted is a
so
woman.
that's actually I wrote down like this is our first sign that Ted isn't the stereotypical kind of main character, like straight man dude. Like
he's a romantic.
Yeah, like I think Craig and
Carter.
Yeah, Craig and Carter, they wanted to like have like they wanted to kind of break the mold of what like a man should be. Like a man doesn't have to like be into sports and all this stuff. Like Ted is much more sensitive, and he kind of breaks these gender stereotypes,
for sure,
which I think is really cool for a 2005 show.
Definitely. And even later in the show, there's a really awesome scene. It's not far away, actually. An awesome scene in the taxi cab with Lily and Marshall that just like totally is like, okay, Lily is in charge of this relationship.
Like as far as like gender stereotypes, Lily is much more of a man than Ted.
For sure. And later we find, Robin is like more of a man than Marshall, Ted, or Barney.
Yeah, honestly, the whole show turns like gender stereotypes on its head, kind of, which
is very like
like the show at its base is just
cool
a sitcom, but like they do things that I think are really interesting and worth looking at.
Okay, so now we're actually doing a little split screen thing, and we are at McLaren's and at the apartment at the same time, which is
something
really cool.
They don't do.
They don't do it very often, but I kind of thought it was cool because, like,
I like
they're literally like on top of McLaren's, so like it's kind of like it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And this is where Bob Saget just really like fucking shines as a narrator, and the writing is perfect. He says there are 2 big questions a man has to ask in his life. One, you plan out for months. The other just slips out when you're half drunk at some bar. And it's Marshall saying, "Will you marry me?" And Ted saying, "Do you want to go out sometime?" And I thought that was like such an awesome line, and like just like, very truthful. That's another thing about the show is it's pretty honest.
It is
about
definitely
things.
honest. Like you see these characters for who they are, for sure. And right after that moment, I think
Marshall and Lily had sex on the kitchen floor.
Marshall and Lily for sure had sex on the kitchen floor. But
I like Jason Segel's underwear.
Yeah,
it's very colorful.
And he finds a Pop-Tart. But
she finds the Pop-Tart.
She finds the Pop-Tart. He calls dibs. But yeah, at the same time at the bar, this is where Ted meets Robin. And so Ted looks, and it's like this kind of ooh moment where like Ted looks at Robin.
That green sweater she's wearing is fire.
It's so cool.
It's a
Like
really nice
she looks
sweater.
great. And I noticed she's wearing hoop earrings. When do you ever see her wear hoop earrings again?
I
like
mean,
that's
she
uncharacteristic
just
of her.
changes so much.
Also, she's with a group of girls.
Never
and we
see
come
them
to find
again.
out in
she
the
doesn't have
future
any friends.
that Robin does not get along well with other women.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting that Robin is just at a bar with like 5 miscellaneous women, like
it's so interesting.
which is definitely like something that changes in the rest of the show.
So
Do you want to talk about what Barney says when he sees?
Yes, he says.
Ted sees Robin, and
The
Ted's
narration
like, "Yo, you see
is
that girl?"
Yeah, the narration says like it's like a scene in an old movie when a Navy guy sees a woman at some crowded dance, and he turns to his buddy and he says, "See that girl? I'm gonna marry her." And he turns to Barney. He says, "Barney, you see that girl?" And Barney replies, "Oh yeah, you know she likes it dirty." And that's like a great sign, a great like line for Barney, and also like it's kind of like truthful later on.
Joe. I know.
That
I know.
locker episode.
Hey, no spoilers.
Oh,
though,
my
okay?
bad.
No.
Look, if you haven't seen the
No,
show,
I'm kidding.
it came out
But yeah, you should
2005.
definitely watch the show, guys. But
That's crazy. If you listen to a podcast about a show you've never watched, that's respect, though.
hey, I got a.
I guess like honestly, that's a way to like find out if you'd like
definitely
like the show.
especially
So listen
if
to
it's
this
about
shit
the
whether
pilot.
or not you've
I mean,
heard
my
it.
friend texted me. He was like, "I'm listening to the podcast." I'm like, "Oh, have you seen Community?" He's like, "No, but I'm gonna watch it for sure after this episode." So, I mean, I guess we're introducing people. Yeah. So,
Okay, so we get the answers to the questions, and before they have sex on the floor, Lily responds, "Of course, you idiot," and
she love tackles him.
The
That's
leb-
what I wrote down.
That's a good thing. And then Yasmin, not the Lebanese girl,
Yeah.
because she has an identity.
Yeah.
She says, "I'm sorry, Carl's my boyfriend," and then you cut to Carl, and he's giving Ted like a really mean
Yeah.
mug. I thought that was
I
awesome.
I wrote down like for the Marshall and Lily scene on the kitchen floor. I wrote down they have kinky sex on the kitchen floor because I just they get weird in the bed, you know.
I mean, we talk about it like literally in a few like moments. Because what happens on the kitchen floor is that Marshall tries to pop a bottle of champagne and he hits Lily in the eye, so they have to like go to the
She
hospital.
looks like a pirate.
But we're missing one thing. I'm pretty sure in between this, Ted and Barney are standing at the bar, and Barney goes, "How did Carl land a Lebanese girl? He doesn't even own a suit." And that's so brilliant.
That
It's
is
just
Barney's
great.
essence.
So now we're in. Sorry, we're skipping around again, guys. We're trying to stick
It's
to an
hard to
orderly
stay.
fashion.
They cut a lot in this
There's a
show.
lot
Like
of
they cut
cuts. You
back
get
and forth a lot,
confused.
so you have to give us a break, okay? So now we're in
the cab ride.
Yeah.
And they get in, and the driver is like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Did you hit her?" Because Lily's holding up an ice
Yeah.
pack to her head, and
And
she
they both-
replies. They both laugh, and
Yeah.
she replies, "This guy can barely spank me in bed for fun. He's always like, 'Oh, honey, does that hurt?'" And I'm like, "Come on, let me have it, you
You
pansy.
pansy.
That is
The
fucking
cab driver's
awesome."
like, "Oh no, I don't mind." So we talking. He says, "You in pajamas or all
All
natural?"
natural.
Which is hilarious. And then right after that, it cuts back to
To
Ted
the
and Robin at the bar, and we find out that Robin works at Metro News 1.
But
and
she only does like the fluff pieces at the
Yeah.
end. She's not like a real
Yeah.
reporter.
And then I think Ted tells a dad joke, classic.
And she asks her out, but she's going to Orlando for a week to cover a story. And I think the story is just really breathtaking and
Yeah.
fascinating and just like attention grabbing. I mean, we both took a journalism class this last semester, and I think like, this story would really be a hit. So some guy is attempting to make the world's largest pancake, and he's gonna eat it too.
Yeah,
so
so
2
she's
world
gonna be there for,
records
like, a week.
in one, and she has to cover this. So that's a real indication of where Robin is
Yeah.
at in her career at the moment.
Yeah, so Robin throws a drink in Ted's face.
They are gonna go out. They're just
Yeah,
gonna go
she
out
agrees to
tomorrow
go out
night.
with him, but because her friend's boyfriend just broke up with her. Every guy is the devil, so she has to throw a drink in Ted's face to make face.
She says,
with her
"Why not?
friends.
It looks fun on the movies."
Yeah.
And then she says it was fun. So that's
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice thing.
Yeah.
And after that, Barney comes up and he's like, "D, wait for it, nide," which is one of the many catchphrases that Barney has throughout
Yeah.
the show. And then Ted informs him that he's actually going out with Robin, and Barney is like, "Dude, we were gonna play laser tag tomorrow," which is awesome.
One of Barney's favorite pastimes.
And a fun fact about Neil Patrick Harris and laser tag is that when he auditioned for the role of Barney Stinson, he actually performed a laser tag routine, and he
I did not
gave
know
himself a concussion because he hit his head in the audition. So it's
It's
like,
a contact sport.
for sure. There's a line later where he yells at some kid.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, Connor,
Don't make me tell your mom.
That's awesome. Just the best
Yeah.
thing. Barney is like a little kid, as we'll come
He
to
is
find
100%
out.
a little kid. So
Okay.
the next scene is Ted and Robin at the bistro.
I said bistro in Brooklyn.
Yeah, bistro in Brooklyn. The beautiful, illustrious blue French horn is illuminated on the mantle of the fireplace at the bistro.
And that's what they talk about first. I think that's like that's something really awesome to just have like in
Yeah.
eye view, especially like on a first date. Like you're like, oh, like what do I start?
Yeah, what the
this
fuck do I talk
conversation
about?
If there's
How do
just
you
a
not talk
fucking-
about this
Now,
glorious blue French horn?
I would personally recommend. I don't think Jake is gonna agree with me because he likes to just be like upfront and nasty with women. So
that is not true.
I don't think that you should say that things look like a Smurf
Yeah,
penis.
Ted says it sort of looks like a Smurf penis, which I think is hilarious, and I'm glad he said it because I might say something similar.
It's pretty great. And he says like, you shouldn't talk about Smurf penises because like most girls wouldn't think it's funny, but this isn't most girls,
Yeah.
And I have this checklist that Marshall and
Yeah.
Ted talk about, which is it cuts to the apartment.
Yeah, they're
and
back
then
at the apartment.
We cut
Marshall and
back
Lily
to
are on
the
the couch.
date later, and it's Ted basically explaining like what's happened on
Yeah.
the date. And so, Ted tells him like, "What's my ideal girl, Marshall?" And he's like, she likes dogs.
Yeah.
Robin has 5 dogs. She drinks scotch. Robin.
Oh yeah, let me interrupt you there.
Go
Little
for it.
tidbit. Josh Radnor, who plays Ted, is actually allergic to dogs in
That
real
is
life,
insane.
which leads to them having to like cut her dogs out of like the show. She sends them to some farm where her aunt lives.
Was he like for real allergic? Or you would just get like a rash.
I don't know that much, but I like to imagine like it's a deadly allergy. Like
Yeah,
if
that
he
makes
got
it- yeah,
like
he's-
he was just in the scenes with the dogs and he's just like shaking, just
and he's
looking
just like
at the
the
dogs.
show must go
Yeah,
on.
like he's just such a showman and a
I mean, let's be
incredible actor.
honest. What else is Josh Radnor doing besides this show?
Hey,
I'm not.
I can't
knocking
think of
his
a single
talent.
thing,
That's exactly.
he did have a good TED Talk that I watched.
That was a
funnily
good
enough.
one. Watch this guy's TED Talk. It's pretty interesting.
It's really interesting. He's actually a really smart guy. But
Yeah, he's nowhere. I mean, Ted is not dumb, but like Josh Radnor doesn't appear to be as goofy.
No, not at all.
As Ted is.
But so number 1, she likes dogs. 2, she drinks scotch. And 3, she can quote obscure lines from Ghostbusters. And 4, she hates olives, which
What?
introduces us to the olive theory.
Oh, fuck, what is the line? It's like if someone tells you you're a god, you like tell them. If I ask you you're a god, you tell them yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Ray.
Yeah,
That's what
which
it
I
is.
thought was interesting because when does Robin
Never.
ever mention Ghostbusters again? Like, that's not really in her personality.
There is another Ghostbusters reference. So remember when Marshall's about to buy that like firehouse? He thinks it's a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Robin and Ted are walking home from their date at the bistro. And Metro News 1 pulls up and interrupts their date, and they say, "Hey, we got a jumper on the bridge or something."
Like that's a normal thing. Yo, another jumper. Like let's go do this.
Yeah. So then it cuts back to the apartment, and Lily says, "So you chickened out like a little bitch."
It's great. Well, actually, before that,
He doesn't kiss her.
Before he doesn't kiss her. But before he tells them that, Marshall says like when he finds out about the date and like before she got picked up by the news
Yeah.
crew, Marshall goes, it's on till the break of dawn in like a robot thing, and that's just like that's the brilliance of Marshall. He's just such a great character.
Yeah, I remember when we were first watching that, when I showed you the pilot, I remember you laughed at that, and I was like, okay, Joe's gonna like
I
this
thought
show.
that was so funny. I was like, that is really great. And then Lily says, but it's only 10:30, so what
Yeah,
happened?
yeah.
So then she says, you chickened out.
Yeah, so then Ted defeated, he calls Barney to ask if if he missed the sign that he needed to kiss her.
Yeah, and he says he needs to talk to him about something. So he's like, meet me at the bar in 15 minutes, suit up. So second suit up of the episode.
Yeah, so we cut back to the bar
Back at
with the gang.
The gang is not at the booth. They are at a table.
I wrote that down. They are at this small little table in front of the booth. They are not at the booth yet, which I thought was odd. But, yeah. So
they're talking about like the situation,
Yeah.
and Ted's like, guys, like it wasn't meant to happen. Like I didn't miss the sign, because let's be honest, guys, sometimes you don't see the sign, or maybe some of you do. If you're one of those dudes that just like knows, like respect to you, like shouts out you, but
it can definitely be hard to tell.
it's confusing.
It's just easier if the party that's interested in the kiss, it just goes for it, you know?
Yeah, but then they're
That
on
isn't
like
a
this,
guy.
yeah, but they're on the same like level as you. I mean, I guess you could like. I'm gonna be honest. It's probably not wrong to assume that most guys wouldn't say no to a kiss, but like.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Barney is talking
We're
about
talking
how
about real
he should've
shit
just
too on
kissed
this
her.
podcast.
Yeah, real shit.
Real shit.
Yeah. So Barney is talking about how Ted should have kissed her, and then he kisses Marshall, and Marshall is just flabbergasted. And he's telling Lily, look, I didn't want him to kiss me. I didn't. And she's
And
like,
Barney says like, and like he didn't give me the sign, but at least now I can go to
know.
sleep knowing that like, nothing was gonna happen between me
Which-
and Marshall.
guys, don't just kiss random people. Honestly, probably not a good idea. Maybe that was
He's
okay.
not a random person. They're buddies.
Okay. No. I mean, like as Barney's advice.
Oh yeah, don't really
Yeah.
listen to much things that Barney says.
Yeah. Please don't. But
Oh, he said the greatest line. A week, when Ted informs him how long Robin's gonna be gone. A week, that's like a year in hot girl time. She'll forget all about you, which I think is just what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
the honesty in this show.
yeah.
Like anyone who's talked to, like anyone
Yeah,
that I think is
and
really attractive.
One thing is, like, in most shows, like, time isn't really like that. It's
time
not
is
that
a
important.
principal element.
But
of
like
the
time
show.
is like so important in How I Met Your Mother. Like compared to other shows, like they could just be like who cares about time? Like it doesn't matter. Everyone has unlimited time.
I feel like other shows just like things happen like and you just like cut to
They're
it,
like
but,
isolated
yeah,
events,
How
but
I
this is
Met
like
Your
there's a
Mother is,
strict timeline.
This is how it happened. Like it may like jump back and forth, but like it's telling you exactly like how this
Yeah,
happened.
that's why the framework of the show of Ted from 2030 telling his kids is so interesting, because he is telling a chronological story. So we're always like stuck within those frameworks.
So after this, the gang convinces Ted to like go after
Yeah.
her again. They're all gonna go with
Yeah, they
her.
see Robin
All
on
gonna go with
TV,
him.
and I cannot miss this line because I literally was laughing so hard. Ted says, "I gotta do what that guy couldn't. I gotta take the leap."
I didn't write
Which-
that down, but I thought that line was
Which
awesome.
I love that line. And so we get to the cab. They're on their way to Robin.
And we meet Ranjit.
Ranjit for the first time.
Ranjit is played by Marshall Manesh. Before this, his debut film was a film called True Lies, which is actually by James Cameron. And additional TV appearances that Marshall has made is in Will and Grace, Entourage, as Michael Scott says, and Scrubs. He was on Burn Notice, Law and Order, SVU. Like he's done a lot of stuff.
Wow, I had
And
no idea.
in total of How I Met Your Mother stuff, he is on 23 episodes. That's a pretty.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a
there's a lot of episodes, but like
he's a solid side character that shows up.
and I
a
wrote
lot.
down like he is someone that really just gets better over time. Because when I first saw him, I was like, this guy's
Ugh.
okay.
Yeah.
But like the more you see him, it's
He
like,
grows
oh,
as a
Ranjit.
character.
I mean, he grows, but like also he always stays the same.
He does
He's
always
just like
stay the same,
he's
I'm
just
kidding.
like like hello, like that's
Hello.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And then so Ted has suited up finally because he
Finally.
has to go impress Robin. He steals that.
Did Barney even say suit up?
No, but Ted did it out of his own
knew.
volition.
Ted knew. He knew.
Yeah, Ted knew he had to suit up for this. So Ted, like the crazy motherfucker he is, he goes and he steals that beautiful French horn.
And he
from
says
the
most
bistro.
people bring flowers.
Yeah.
He's not. Ted Mosby is
Not most
people.
people.
Okay, you need to understand that. What's his
Yeah.
middle name? It's something
Evelyn.
funny.
Ted
Evelyn
Evelyn
Mosby is a fucking man. You want to look, all you little boys listening out here. You want to go out and get this beautiful girl. Follow Ted Mosby's
Yes,
advice.
steal her
Go
something.
steal her something and like go to her apartment and fucking like talk to her out of a window if that's possible.
Yeah. So Ted pulls up. He approaches the door. Robin opens the window. Her dogs are barking, and Ted says that he's back for the olives.
That I thought that was so good.
Yeah.
And also another thing I wrote down is like, bro, Robin Scherbatsky is fucking smooth.
Oh, hell
she
yeah.
offers him a drink,
Yeah.
and then she presses on her fucking stereo, her
Yes.
2005 stereo, and she plays Otis Redding, which if you watch the show, you find out Otis Redding is a big favorite of Ted's,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's actually something he looks for in a woman. He
Yeah.
says eventually, I want a woman who listens to Otis Redding.
Yeah.
And the song she plays is actually called Cigarettes and Coffee.
Great
It's
song.
a really great song. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. So all the while this is happening, back in the cab because they're still waiting there.
Yeah.
Lily has left. She's gone to pee because Barney made a joke about her being a newscaster. He says, Ted's going to bang a newscaster. This just in. Get it? I thought that was awesome. So she leaves. And then Barney debunks the olive theory, which
Yeah.
if you don't
Olives
know...
are a constant theme in this episode.
Can you explain the olive theory for us, Jake?
Yeah, so the olive theory essentially is so you have a partner, one partner loves olives, the other does not, and that it's similar to like opposites attract. So if one person hates olives, the other likes them, therefore they are a fit.
That's what makes them work. And this is based off Lily and Marshall on their first date, as we come to find
Yeah.
out. So he debunks the theory. He says, hey, Marshall, this olive theory. 2 weeks ago, Spanish bar on 79th Street, dish of olives. You had some. What up? What is up, Marshall? You're supposed to fucking hate, despise, dare I say, olives. And now you're eating them in a Spanish bar on 79th.
Turns out Marshall does not hate olives. He just desperately wanted to get in her
He
pants.
says, I was 18. I was a virgin. I've been waiting my whole life for a pretty girl to want my olives. That is just straight facts, no
olives in this
printer.
episode are like they're kind of just like sex, you know, like like Robin is offering Ted her olives. Like I love how olives are just
Very
a theme.
smooth, very
And
good writing.
As far as olive theory goes, Joe, do you like olives?
I don't like olives.
I love olives.
Wow, that
We're a
works.
match,
Wow, damn. Nominate us for like podcast couple of the year or
Yeah,
something.
please.
That would be sick. So, you know, stuff is happening between Ted. They start this thing where they say, Ted and Robin, they start this thing where they say, I think I like this, I think I like that. And eventually, Ted says, I think I'm in love with you. And I just wrote down, like, why, Ted, why? And he fucking says it again, dude.
he says it again.
He says it twice,
They're
and
just-
it's just like,
oh,
why do you
Dude,
do this?
They're just awkwardly sitting on the couch, and Ted says,
She's like, you love me?
yeah, and Ted says, no, first he says, you gonna hit Disney World?
Yeah, you and Orlando are gonna hit Disney World.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious. And she's like, you love me? And then he goes into this tirade about like how like he doesn't like he doesn't think that he shouldn't be allowed to tell her that he loves her on a first date.
He says that. And so then we go back to the booth because she says goodnight to him.
Yeah, wait, but first
Continue.
first they walk out and Ted like he tells her like
he gets the opportunity
yeah,
again,
he like
right?
makes his case for like being a good
and
boyfriend.
she's into
like,
it.
Yeah, and she's into it, and like they shake hands really slowly, and as it turns out, that was another signal that Ted should have kissed her, that he misses again.
And what I think is really, really fascinating about that is like that is so unlike the character of Robin that we come to meet, because like isn't it before like she dates Ted that like she's already like, I'm not interested in like looking for a boyfriend or anything, right? That's what she's like. So yeah, that's very unlike the Robin we come to meet later. So then we go back to the booth. We're finally at the booth, the famous booth. And I really love the camera angles because they're hiding someone that we'll eventually
Yeah.
get to. And another thing we have is that we see that wall that we don't really see that often.
Yeah, the forbidden wall.
Yeah, the forbidden wall eventually becomes like where the camera
Essentially
is.
the fourth wall.
Yeah, it kind of becomes where the camera is eventually,
Yeah.
like for the most part. I wrote down Carl's accent is heavy as fuck.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
never that. It's just
Hey,
like
what do you guys want?
it's like in The Sopranos. They start
Yeah.
off like, I'm
Hey, can
Tony
I get you something?"
Soprano. You know,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. But
They all tell him that was the signal.
yeah, it turns out Ranjit is sitting at the bar with them drinking champagne, and they're celebrating Marshall and Lily's engagement, and that's the end of the stories.
I wrote
End
down
of the
like
story.
when he tells his kids, like years later, I found out that like it was the
Yeah.
signal. Is that a hint at the ending?
You know,
Because they had already decided it
it
like
might.
not long after
Yeah,
they
I
started the
don't-
show. I just thought that was interesting because I was like, why would you like mention that?
Yeah.
If like circumstances were different.
yeah. Let's just not get too much into it in case someone hasn't finished the show.
for sure.
But yeah. So then the voiceover finishes and he says, "That kid's the true story of how I met your Aunt Robin." And cut to black. That's
He
the end
says
of the
this is
episode.
gonna be a long story, guys.
It
and
is
It's a
very
long
long story, about 9 seasons, 22, 24 episodes a season. About
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it, guys.
yeah.
I
We'll
hope
be
you guys
doing.
liked it.
We're gonna keep doing How I Met Your Mother and Community. We'll probably do about give or take 4 or 5 episodes a season. I
For
think.
sure.
And
You guys can also expect. We're saying 3 episodes a week. That's what we'd like to.
yeah, we
put
plan on
out
doing
to
3
you
episodes a
guys.
week. We plan to get on the schedule of Monday, Wednesday, Friday release schedule. Hopefully is what we'll be doing. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for
Oh,
listening.
to clarify, we are now available on Spotify
Yeah.
and on Apple Podcasts.
And we will be on YouTube hopefully today.
Very soon, if
Yeah.
not today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you guys liked it. If you want, go ahead and follow our Instagram, which is a show about a show pod, no spaces. Go ahead and follow that. That is going to be the best way to keep
Yes,
up with
we are also
what
on
we're
Twitter.
doing. We are also on Twitter. What's the handle for Twitter?
The handle for Twitter is a show about a show. I don't know the exact handle. But
Just check out the Instagram. We'll have a link.
yeah, we'll have a link to
we'll
the
have
Twitter and
something
the
to
Instagram.
the Twitter.
Please, you'll find it. So yeah, that's it.
But follow the Instagram, guys. Leave us some comments. And
Yeah.
like, we are not just going to do Community and How I Met Your Mother. I
Yeah.
guess we need to clarify. So we're just going to do our favorite episodes
Yeah.
from our favorite TV shows.
If you have any suggestions,
If you have any suggestions,
please feel
let
free
us know.
to let us
because,
know.
We want to know what people
yeah,
want to hear
yeah.
about.
I mean, we want to cover stuff that people want to hear, and yeah. I think that's it.
I think
leave
that's
us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Would be
Please,
great
that
as
really
well. That
helps.
would really help us out.
So yeah, this was a
Yeah.
show about a show
I'm Jake.
podcast, and I'm Joe.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.